Imagine waking up and finding your child's Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok accounts shut down by law. That's exactly what's happening in Australia. From December 2025, if you're under 16, social media accounts are effectively banned. But this isn't just about Australia. This is a global wake-up call. Because if they can do it there, could your country be next? And is this drastic move actually a good idea? Or is it pushing our kids into even greater danger? Let's break down the core of this new Australian law, which is set to come into full effect by December 2025. It's surprisingly simple. If you are under 16, you legally cannot have a social media account. The biggest shift? The responsibility is entirely on the platforms, companies like Meta and TikTok, to verify age. They can no longer just rely on a tick box. And if they fail to take reasonable steps to enforce this, they face fines of up to 49.5 million Australian dollars. It's important to note, teens can still view public content in guest mode, but no accounts, no uploading, no interacting. So why such an extreme measure? The government's reasoning is clear. They see this as a public health intervention. They frame it like regulating alcohol or driving. Children simply aren't old enough for the dangers. They point to the alarming rise in youth mental health issues, linked directly to constant exposure to harmful content, body image pressures, and hyper-addictive algorithms designed to keep kids scrolling. For many parents, they feel they've lost control, with kids joining platforms as young as 10 or 12. So the government is essentially viewing these platforms as highly addictive substances. Forcing them to quit is, in a way, asking them to go cold turkey, a massive, traumatic withdrawal, but one they argue is necessary to break that addictive cycle. But as with any drastic measure, this law faces enormous criticism. And honestly, this is where the policy looks good on paper, but starts to fall apart in the real world. First, the cold turkey trauma. The ban is asking millions of children to suddenly drop a habit that's been ingrained in them since early childhood. This immediate withdrawal can cause isolation, emotional distress, and simply push them to seek out new, unmonitored communities. Second, the loss of educational resources. Platforms like YouTube are digital libraries. Forcing a ban on accounts cuts off access to saved content, specific educational channels, and the ability to ask questions or collaborate, hurting legitimate learning. Third, and this is a massive one, the parental loophole. The Australian law places zero penalty on parents or children who bypass the ban. A parent can easily create an account, lie about age, or give their child their own login. In this scenario, the child is less safe online, accessing the platform with adult settings, no filters, and no parental controls. This isn't a two-way street, it's a one-sided gamble. Fourth, the Hydra effect, pushing kids underground. Banning regulated platforms doesn't make kids leave the internet. It makes them move to apps like WhatsApp, Telegram, or Discord. These are often end-to-end encrypted, making it impossible for parents or authorities to monitor for bullying, grooming, or harmful content. We're cutting off one head and two more dangerous ones grow back. Fifth, the great data mining risk. To verify age, platforms will need highly sensitive identity data, passports, facial scans, credit cards. This creates a massive privacy risk for children's data and could exclude kids from marginalized communities who don't have these IDs. And it normalizes more invasive ID checks for all of us. And finally, public skepticism, the tick box risk. While the platforms are scrambling to comply now, the public won't believe this law is serious until the first major multi-million-dollar fine is issued for a systemic breach. Without that, it risks becoming just a tick box exercise, validating the tech companies' arguments that it's a poorly designed law. So if Australia is doing this, could it happen in your country? In places like the UK, the EU, or even the US, a direct ban faces even bigger hurdles. We have strong digital rights laws, like the UK's GDPR, which would make invasive age verification highly controversial. Our existing laws, like the UK's Online Safety Act, already push platforms to protect minors, not ban them outright, suggesting a different political approach. Child safety groups globally warn that a total ban could isolate vulnerable teens. And politically, while parents are crying out for help, governments are wary of the logistical nightmare and public backlash that a total ban could ignite. Public opinion is incredibly split. So, if a total ban has so many issues, what are the better, more nuanced solutions? How do we protect children without causing the cold turkey trauma or the Hydra effect? Here are 5 alternatives that I believe offer a more effective, controlled taper instead of a complete ban. A. Parental consent and accountability system. Let under 16s have accounts, but only with verified parental approval. Crucially, this requires parents to agree to a digital responsibility pledge, shifting to a two-way street of shared accountability. The parent knows, the platform knows, and the child is on a monitored account. B. Strict age verification, but not a ban. Platforms must verify age, but instead of banning under 16, they provide a safer, age-appropriate experience automatically. Think no DMs from strangers, no adult content, limited algorithmic exposure, all while staying on a monitored platform, instead of disappearing to Discord. C. Safe mode by default. This is the controlled taper. No addictive features for anyone under 16, no For You feeds, no likes or follower counts, no infinite scrolling, no algorithmic recommendations. It keeps the child connected and educated, but removes the addictive triggers. D. School-verified or educator-led accounts. Students sign up using their school email, giving them a protected, supervised environment specifically for learning and school-approved communication, monitored by educators. This counters the isolation risk. And E. Verified educational exemptions. Require platforms to create a separate verified educational portal where minors can hold an account only for educational content. Shielded from influencer content and DMs, this separates the educational library from the addictive shopping mall. So where do I land on this? Is the Australian model a good idea? Personally, yes, I think it comes from a good place. As a society, we absolutely have to push back against the algorithmic addiction and mental health crisis facing our kids. But, and this is the core of the issue, just because a law looks good on paper doesn't mean it works in the real world. History has shown us that when you create a prohibition, whether it's on alcohol, driving, or now social media, people, especially teenagers, will always find a way around it. We are essentially creating what I call the Hydra effect. The Australian government cuts off the head of the monster by banning TikTok and Instagram access, but 2 new, more dangerous heads grow: the trauma of cold turkey and the underground shift to unmonitored apps, losing educational opportunities along the way. And crucially, we have to ask ourselves, does this law truly succeed when it only punishes the platform and not the parent who actively bypasses the restriction? Until we see this as a two-way street, a partnership between platforms, government, and the people holding the devices, we are doomed to see new, well-intentioned laws fail to make our kids safer. Right now, tech giants are doing the bare minimum. But until the Australian government has the will to issue that first major fine of 49.5 million Australian dollars for a systemic breach, until we see that pressure turn into real consequence, I fear this landmark law risks being nothing more than a symbolic tick-box exercise. So what do you think about this Australian social media ban? Is it a bold, necessary move, or a flawed, dangerous experiment? I want to hear from you in the comments below. Would a ban like this work in your country?
Do you think parents who bypass the rules should face consequences? And of my 5 alternatives, which one do you think is the best way to truly protect our kids online? Let me know your thoughts, and if you found this breakdown helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe for more in-depth analyses, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss future videos.